There are certain things that almost every older adult ends up doing, but nobody ever talks about them. They're quiet habits, subtle behaviors, things we do without even realizing, and yet they say so much. If you've entered your later years and felt like something has changed deep inside, this video is for you. Because what we're about to uncover may not only surprise you, it may also open the door to a healthier, longer, and more peaceful chapter of your life. One of the most common habits among senior citizens is pretending everything is fine when it's not. That gentle smile, that quick, "I'm doing okay," it often hides pain, fear, or deep emotional weight. In old age, many elderly individuals choose silence not because they want to suffer, but because they've learned to be strong for others. They've spent a lifetime holding things together, so asking for help can feel unfamiliar or even shameful. But here's a truth worth repeating. Healthy aging is not about being quiet. It's about being honest with yourself and the people around you. Suppressing physical pain or emotional distress may seem like strength, but in reality, it delays healing. Senior health improves not through silence, but through expression. Opening up to your doctor, your spouse, your children is not a burden. It's a gift that protects you. The fear of being labeled fragile or needy often keeps older adults from speaking their truth. But the longer you hold it in, the heavier it becomes. A stiff shoulder that goes untreated can become a chronic issue. Emotional strain that's bottled up can turn into anxiety or sleep trouble. One of the best tips for a longer life is to acknowledge when something's wrong, even if it's something small. Addressing it early prevents bigger problems later. If you've been saying, "I'm fine," out of habit, consider changing that script. Keep a journal where you jot down symptoms, feelings, or thoughts that concern you, even if they seem minor. Bring that with you to checkups. It's a simple but powerful way to take control of your senior health. You don't have to carry it all alone. And once you stop pretending, you might notice something else changing too: the distance between you and those closest to you. It often starts quietly. You stop answering calls as quickly. You decline a lunch invitation here, skip a family gathering there. And soon, without even realizing it, you're no longer as present as you once were. Many senior citizens experience this gradual retreat, not because they don't love their family and friends, but because something inside feels off. Maybe it's emotional fatigue. Maybe it's feeling misunderstood. But the withdrawal is real. In old age, this subtle distancing can be a way of protecting the heart. The elderly may feel like no one truly gets what they're going through anymore, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And rather than explaining or being brushed aside, they choose silence. But healthy aging is deeply connected to staying involved. The well-being for seniors isn't just about medication or walking. It's also about relationships, purpose, and emotional presence. Sometimes, distancing stems from shame, perhaps due to memory lapses, bodily changes, or hearing loss. Or it may come from a sense of loss of relevance, of control, of identity. These feelings are hard to express, especially for someone who once led, guided, and protected others. But pulling away too far can lead to something much harder to fix: isolation. And isolation, quietly, has real consequences on both mental and senior health. If you've noticed this in yourself, try this. Reach out to just one person. Not everyone, just one. Someone who feels safe. Send a message, ask for a short visit, or invite them over for coffee. It's one of the simplest yet most overlooked tips for a longer life. Because connection is medicine too, and often, rebuilding just one bridge is enough to start healing many others. A rolled-up bill inside a shoe, a health report tucked behind books, or passwords scribbled and hidden beneath a drawer. These might sound like quirks, but for many senior citizens, they're serious habits. As people move through old age, they often feel an intense need to protect their independence. Hiding money or private documents becomes less about secrecy and more about control, a quiet way to feel in charge when the world seems to move faster than they do. This behavior, while understandable, can create problems, especially when no one else knows where important items are kept. A misplaced insurance card, a forgotten savings stash, or unshared medical instructions can cause panic during emergencies. Even loved ones with the best intentions can't help if they don't know what's hidden or where. That's why healthy aging includes not just organizing your life, but also communicating it clearly to someone you trust. Some elderly people hide information because they fear losing control. They worry that if others know too much, they'll be treated like children. That fear is valid and should be honored, but secrecy doesn't always equal safety. Transparency, on your terms, is a sign of strength. Protecting your peace of mind is part of the well-being for seniors, and sharing key details with one or two reliable people can actually reinforce your independence, not take it away. Here's a practical solution. Create a small life folder. In it, include copies of your medical records, key contacts, important passwords, in written form, and basic financial information. Store it in a secure place, and let one trusted person know about it. These are the kinds of tips for a longer life that no one teaches you, but they matter. Because having your life in order brings clarity. And clarity is a powerful form of calm in old age. There's a silent kind of fear that often shows up in old age, not loud or dramatic, but quiet, tucked away beneath daily routines. Many senior citizens won't say it out loud, but they feel it. The fear of getting sick, of losing independence, of being forgotten. Instead of sharing these feelings, they mask them with phrases like, "I'm just taking life as it comes," or "I've already lived my time." It sounds peaceful, but inside, anxiety quietly stirs. Healthy aging doesn't mean never feeling fear. It means facing it with honesty and compassion. Pretending you're at peace when you're actually overwhelmed only creates more tension. It's okay to admit that you're uncertain about what's ahead. The future is unknown for everyone, but especially for the elderly, who may feel time slipping away. Talking about it with someone, a friend, a doctor, a spiritual guide, can be more healing than most realize. Many older adults stop making plans. They think, "What for?" But planning, even in small doses, brings structure and a sense of purpose. It can be as simple as setting a goal to reorganize the kitchen, plan a family dinner, or finally take that short trip you've been thinking about. These aren't just tasks, they're anchors. And anchors keep the mind focused and the heart engaged. It's one of the simplest but most effective tips for a longer life. If fear is something you carry silently, try writing it down. List your worries, but also list the things you still look forward to. Then ask yourself, what can I control right now? What brings me peace today? The well-being for seniors often starts with naming what we feel. And once the fear is no longer hiding, something surprising happens. We begin to see ourselves with new honesty, even in the mirror. It's something few talk about, but many senior citizens quietly begin to avoid their own reflection. They stop standing in front of full-length mirrors. They dodge cameras at family events. They even untag themselves from photos online, if they use social media at all. Why? Because sometimes, looking in the mirror means facing what old age has changed, and that can be uncomfortable, even painful. As we grow older, our bodies shift in ways we can't control. Skin sags, joints ache, and energy fades. These are normal parts of the aging process. And yet, many elderly people feel shame about what they see. They compare themselves to who they used to be, instead of honoring who they've become. But healthy aging isn't about staying the same. It's about accepting the changes with dignity and learning to appreciate the person you are now. Your reflection tells a story, not of loss, but of survival. Every wrinkle is a line drawn by laughter, every mark a symbol of strength. When you stop avoiding mirrors and begin facing them with kindness, something powerful shifts. You begin to reclaim ownership of your image. The well-being for seniors depends as much on self-compassion as it does on physical health. Looking at yourself, truly looking, is a radical act of self-respect in old age. Here's one of the most underrated tips for a longer life. Take a photo of yourself today and write down 3 things you're proud of. Then, place that photo somewhere visible. It may feel strange at first, but over time, it becomes a reminder of your resilience. You are still here. You are still you. And once you begin to see yourself with softer eyes, something surprising happens. You'll notice how others begin to see you more clearly too. I think I've told you this before. It's a phrase many senior citizens say with a nervous chuckle. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes they know they've shared the same memory already, maybe even more than once. But they tell it again anyway. And while people may assume it's just forgetfulness, often there's something deeper behind the repetition. It's not always about memory. It's about connection. When someone in old age tells the same story, they may be longing to feel heard. The story may represent a moment of joy, pride or identity, something they don't want to be forgotten. For many elderly individuals, repeating stories is less about what's being said and more about needing someone to listen. And in that sense, storytelling becomes a form of survival, a reminder that their voice still matters. Healthy aging isn't just physical. It includes emotional presence and being acknowledged. Interrupting or rushing someone through their story can feel like saying, "You're no longer important." But pausing, asking a question, or showing curiosity brings dignity to the conversation. These small acts of attention are powerful tips for a longer life, not just for the storyteller, but also for the listener, who gets to learn something precious. If you find yourself repeating stories, embrace it. Consider writing those memories down. Create a simple life book, or even record voice messages for your family. It's not about avoiding repetition, it's about honoring your experience. The well-being for seniors includes being able to share your past with pride. And when people stop listening with impatience and start listening with love, your story becomes more than memory. It becomes legacy. It's not something most senior citizens like to admit, but it happens. You see a young person walking with energy, laughing out loud, making plans with no fear of tomorrow, and something stirs inside. It's not hatred, and it's not bitterness. It's something softer, a quiet longing, a silent, almost invisible envy. Watching youth from the sidelines can awaken old feelings of missed chances, of lost time, of fading strength. In old age, comparisons become more internal. You might look at a group of teenagers glued to their phones and think they don't appreciate what they have. Or see a young couple rushing by and feel the sting of how fast life has changed. And while these thoughts may come with a small smile or a sigh, deep down, there's sometimes pain. Pain that's rarely spoken out loud. But it's real, and it matters. This doesn't make you unkind. It makes you human. Healthy aging includes being honest with yourself about emotions that feel uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with feeling a little jealous. What matters is what you do with it. Do you close off and judge? Or do you use that feeling as fuel to re-engage with life in your own way? Even in elderly years, there are ways to feel inspired, involved, and alive. Here's one of the most unexpected tips for a longer life. Learn something from a young person. Ask what music they're listening to, what technology they love, what dreams they have. You might not agree with everything, and that's okay. But exchanging curiosity instead of judgment strengthens the well-being for seniors and keeps the spirit youthful. Because life doesn't end when youth fades. It just takes on a deeper, wiser beauty. Laying out clothes the night before, always using the same cup for tea, checking if the door is locked 3 times before bed. These rituals might seem trivial, but for many senior citizens, they offer something essential: control. In a world that changes fast and often feels unpredictable, small routines help ground us. For elderly individuals, especially, these rituals create a sense of safety and order when so much else feels uncertain. As people enter old age, they experience losses of friends, strength, mobility, or roles they once held. These rituals, while quiet, become symbols of consistency. They help the mind feel anchored and reduce anxiety. This is a normal and even healthy response to change. In fact, many aspects of healthy aging are built on structure: sleep schedules, medication times, or daily walks. The rhythm of routine supports emotional balance. However, when these small habits become too rigid, they can also start to limit freedom. If you feel upset when something interrupts your routine, or if breaking a ritual leaves you anxious for hours, it might be time to soften those edges. Flexibility is just as important as structure. The well-being for seniors doesn't depend on perfection, it thrives in adaptability. It's okay to change the cup, the route, the playlist. You're still in control. One of the most helpful tips for a longer life is to turn your rituals into conscious moments of joy. Light a candle while you drink your tea. Try a new breakfast on weekends. Invite variety into your day without losing the comfort of routine. These little shifts don't just protect your senior health, they refresh your spirit. Because control doesn't mean rigidity. It means choice. And choice, even in small things, keeps life full of meaning. It's more common than most people think. Many senior citizens silently avoid going to the doctor. Not because they feel fine, but because they're afraid. Afraid of hearing bad news. Afraid of tests, of diagnoses, of something that might change their lives. So they say, "I'm okay, I don't need to go," even when their body is telling a different story. It's not denial out of laziness, it's fear in disguise. In old age, this fear can grow quietly. Aches are ignored. Vision changes are shrugged off. Chest discomfort is dismissed as indigestion. But these little symptoms, if left unchecked, can grow into real problems. Senior health depends on prevention, not just treatment. And one of the most critical tips for a longer life is this: face what you're afraid of before it becomes something worse. Avoiding medical care may feel like staying in control, but in truth, it increases risk. When caught early, many conditions are manageable, but when left in silence, they may become urgent or irreversible. Healthy aging isn't about avoiding reality. It's about taking action while you still have options. Going to the doctor isn't just a chore. It's an act of self-respect and an investment in the years you still have to live. If fear is holding you back, take one simple step. Schedule your annual checkup during your birthday month. Make it a yearly habit, a gift to yourself. Bring someone with you if it eases the anxiety. Write down questions beforehand. These may sound small, but they're powerful parts of the well-being for seniors. You deserve to know how your body is doing, not because something's wrong, but because your life still matters deeply. One of the most painful experiences in old age isn't physical, it's emotional. Many senior citizens reach a point where they start feeling invisible. They speak, but no one listens. They share thoughts, but they're dismissed as outdated. Slowly, their words begin to lose weight in the eyes of others. And eventually, some stop speaking altogether. Not because they have nothing to say, but because it feels like no one really wants to hear. This emotional silence hurts. When someone who once led a family, a team, or a household starts being ignored, it chips away at their identity. For the elderly, feeling unheard can trigger sadness, frustration, or even depression. And yet, it's rarely talked about. But listening, truly listening, is essential to well-being for seniors. Because what they have to say is not only valid, it's often incredibly wise. Healthy aging isn't just about diet and exercise. It's about expression, purpose, and presence. Your opinions, shaped by decades of experience, have value. Whether it's about family, politics, health, or life itself, what you think still matters. And if no one is asking for your input, it doesn't mean you have to stay quiet. You can reclaim your voice in creative and meaningful ways. Here's one of the most empowering tips for a longer life. Start a wisdom journal. Write down your views, your lessons, and the advice you wish someone had given you. Share it with your family, or read it aloud at gatherings. You can also join discussion circles for elderly adults in your community. Your voice isn't fading, it's evolving. And the moment you begin speaking with confidence again, others will start to lean in and truly listen. Now that you've heard each of these silent behaviors, let me ask you, how many of them have quietly made their way into your own life? Maybe you've caught yourself saying, "I'm fine," when you weren't. Or backing away from people you love, even if your heart missed them. Perhaps you've looked in the mirror and not liked who was looking back. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signals that something within you is asking to be seen, heard, and respected. Old age brings more than just wrinkles and slower steps. It brings layers of emotion, reflection, and change. But it also brings the opportunity to do things differently, with more courage, more grace, and more truth. Healthy aging isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being present with your reality and choosing to care for yourself anyway. Because yes, even now, especially now, you still deserve a full, rich life. Your voice still matters. Your actions still matter. And your presence in this world is still a gift, both to yourself and to others. Whether you start journaling, reconnecting with someone, speaking up at your next doctor's visit, or simply allowing yourself to feel again, you're taking a step toward true well-being for seniors. These are the real, practical tips for a longer life that no one teaches, but that can change everything. So now it's your turn. Which of these silent habits are you ready to change? Which one spoke to your heart the most? Leave a comment and share your story, because your experience can help others feel less alone. And if you want to keep learning how to live this stage of life with more confidence and meaning, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's walk this journey together, because growing older doesn't mean growing quieter, it means growing deeper.